that Wisconsin's recall election against Republican Governor Scott Walker is the second most important election in the nation this year. How important is this recall election in our state, and what are the implications on a national level, and will the outcome affect the national election?
It is the second most important election in the nation. With Congressman Ryan on anything that has a number in it. I agree with him. A lot of his ideas don't have numbers in them, but it's hard to do a budget with so few numbers. But you know, it's not only, I think, the second most important election in the country. I actually think because when it is happening, I think what happens with the recall here will have a significant national effect on what happens in the presidential election. Now, whichever way you want your recall election to go here, I don't mean to put my finger in the wind here, but I don't think the fact that it will have perhaps a determinative effect on who we get as the next president of the United States. I don't think that should necessarily be exciting to you. I think that should be scary. I'll take scary for 200. You should treat this election as if the country depended on it, because I think the country does. Is like pure cheap politics, because if you think about when the election is going to happen, essentially the national momentum of all politics will be affected throughout the summer by what happens here in June. And the summer leads up to Labor Day and the conventions and the election, and what has happening over the course of the summer because of what happens here in Wisconsin could absolutely be determinative. I don't know of anything else besides the economy that I think of as more important in terms of setting the national tone. Less cheaply than that, and more substantively, the reason that the country has been paying so much attention to you guys, the reason that... Well, no. I feel like I'm just part of the country that is paying attention to you. And the reason that I think the eyes of the country have been upon you for the past year is not just because the characters are involved or fascinating and there's a lot of amazing pictures of people out in the streets and doing, you know, picturesque forms of protest. That's not it. It's because of the substantive issues at stake here. It's because the reason that there are two parties in 2012, honestly, I mean, you can talk about the origin of the parties and where they came from and where they've been and their histories and everything, but honestly, the reason there are two parties right now is because of people who have to work for a living. And there is a party that has decided that its interests are not to be found in allying with people who work for a living, but rather in allying with people who sign paychecks on the front rather than on the back. The other party in this country is supposed to be the other thing. The Democratic Party is supposed to be, in 2012, the party of people who work for a living and the people who believe that the future of this country is tied up in the working class and the middle class and the everyday American and not the richest American. And not in a cheerleading way about the Democratic Party. I say this because Wisconsin is the story of the last 2 years. Because you have been a wake-up call to the Democratic Party. Yeah. To remember what it is supposed to stand for and what it is up against. So I think that there is, by nature as humans, we are drawn to kinetic activity. When there is combat and confrontation, we like to watch that. And it's like, if you don't have great vision and you're watching hockey from really high up seats, like sort of all you can do is follow the people who are very closely moving around the puck. It's kind of like that. We can only follow. There's other stuff going on, and defense is interesting, but like really we just follow the puck. And that is part of it. It's a confrontation, and it's a fight, and a recall election is always an exciting thing just because it represents some sort of serious political friction. But it is a more soulful question than that. And that is why I think when you talk to Republicans about what Wisconsin means to them, it is that they are shocked by what they are hearing from Democrats. They are shocked by the confrontation, they are shocked by the fight. But when you talk to Democrats about why Wisconsin is important to them, and I mean Democrats outside Wisconsin, I mean Democrats outside of this country looking at Wisconsin, what is important to them is what they realized the fight was about, and recognizing that union rights in the first instance, but also the interests of people who have to work for a living and the reason there is a Democratic Party in the first place became clear to them in a way that had not been clear to them for a long time.